Another episode of Startup Aria Show. If you haven't done so already, please check out startupariashow.com. And in there, you can find out what top 5 angel investors are saying about angel and real estate investing. This goes for the people in the back that really needs to hear it. Check out startupariashow.com. And actually, today we have a guest. His name is Adrian Chuquillangui, and he's on here today. He's actually part of the Coast Guard, right? And he's also a syndicator, passive investor, and a man of God. So I can let him introduce himself right here.
Yeah, of course, Yvonne. Thanks for having me on the show. Excited to kind of be here with you and spend some time with you. I know we were just talking, before the show started that I think this is the first time we're having a face to face. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Good to finally do that.
Yeah. I appreciate you being here. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on is because I do have a few questions of myself, and I'm sure that the audience will have those similar questions. Just to give you a preface of who the audience is, who they are, is they're startup founders, angel investors, and VCs that are looking to understand more of how they can diversify into real estate. And you, my friend, are some form of expert in talking about that, right? So that's kind of why I wanted you on. And so at the beginning of all this, can you give us a little introduction of who you are, what you do, a little background?
Absolutely. So, my name is Adrian Chuquillangui. I'm the founder of St. Joseph's Capital, a commercial multifamily real estate syndication company. With the purpose of helping investors create new streams of tax-advantaged passive income and preserving and growing their wealth. We're assisting investors nationwide who are investing in real estate while also donating 50% of our profits to assist missionaries committing to sharing the hope and joy of the gospel with high school and university students on campuses around the globe. I also have a podcast, the St. Joseph's Capital Podcast, which is a collection of interviews with top experts in the real estate industry with a focus on the synergies between faith, personal growth, impact creation, and real estate investing. And just in addition to my involvement in the real estate industry, I'm a Catholic husband, father, and Coast Guard officer as well.
Wow. That packs a punch there, and you doing impact investing is amazing. And so at the deepest core of all of these titles, all of that you've mentioned, why do you do what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge question. What is your why? What is your purpose? And
Yeah.
I was just talking to my wife about this this week. It's kind of a theme, and it kind of ties into our identity, who we are, at our core, right? And
Right.
I think it kind of ties back to what we were talking about on the pre-show, Yvonne, with who we are, and for me, understanding my role as a man, as a husband, as a father, and leading my wife, family, and sons really through life is a huge why. And I think it's very connected to who I am as a man, and who we're called to be as, most importantly, as children of God, right? And that's definitely who we are, and that purpose and that why comes from that and stems from that, because God has such a amazing plan and vision for our lives. And I think it's our purpose to ask him, well, what is that, right? Well, what is that plan that you have for us? What is your intentions for our lives, right? And so for me, it's really just living in that identity, as that man, as that husband, as that father, as that child of God.
Yeah, that's kind of why I look up to you, because not only do I understand the cash flow and IPO part of this, but like I'm missing that part of spirituality and connection of purpose for God, not necessarily for my inner self. Self itself. So how does since you are very much involved in the real estate realm, how does all of that tie into being a cash flow investor for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that being a cash investor was life changing for me because I had never heard business being talked about um, in a certain way where you could actually use that cash flow that's generated, right? That difference between revenue and expenses, right? That cash
Correct.
flow, to go fuel other things. And it's like, okay, well, what if we use that cash flow as fuel for the things that matter the most?
Correct.
Um, and, so that's kind of where that mission comes from, and how we can do those different kinds of missions that matter with that profit and with that cash flow.
Yeah. So how have you been applying that into your life? I know you talk about missionary and putting funds into that in that regard. So can you talk about that?
Sure. It really, for me, when I was first drawn to real estate investing, it was the parable from the Gospel of Matthew, which is the parable of the talents, which talks about a master who entrusts three different servants with a different number of talents, which in that time of day was a form of currency, right, or a form of money. And so the first one was given 5, and he went out and produced 5 more. The second one was given 2 and went out and produced 2 more. And then the third one was given out 1 and then just kind of buried that one in the ground. And, he ended up being admonished for doing nothing with that talent. And so that question there in the lesson really is like, well, what are we doing, with what we're given? And, I had a missionary friend of mine who approached me a couple of years ago, and my heart went out to him because he was asking for financial and prayer support. And so, I was able to say, yeah, like I can, help you pray for your mission and your ministry,
Right.
and the students that you're encountering on campus. But it was really hard for me to commit to, the that financial assistance, right, that he was looking for. And my heart went out to him because I wanted to do more, and I wanted to give more and to live a more generous life. And so that's kind of during the time when I was learning about real estate and profit centers of real estate, learning about cash flow, learning about appreciation, about leverage, about debt pay down, and equity building up, and all the different profit centers of real estate, but then also different profit centers or additional profit centers of commercial real estate, specifically with syndication, especially with the ability to force appreciation at a different level, because with commercial properties, the valuations are determined by the net operating income, right? The performance of the asset and how much cash flow is coming in. And so understanding that literally cash flow is going to increase the value of the property was really just, such a huge mind shift for me to realize that, hey, we can 10x the way that we serve the kingdom of God financially. We could even 100x, if we put our minds to it and use this tool of commercial real estate, of apartment syndication to advance the mission of the gospel, right? To help missionaries be in the spot so that they can focus on the mission, so they can focus on encountering students and bringing Christ to them,
Right.
so that they aren't too worried about the funds that have to come in. So that's kind of where we're at, man.
Dude, that's amazing. It's clear to me that impact investing, and it's probably more than that. It's probably another word for it. God investing. I don't even know if that's a word, but essentially that's what you're doing, and that's kind of what your organization at St. Joseph Capital is all about. Can you define your core values just so it's clear to the audience as to what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So integrity, is the first one, and just having business practice that is honest, true, and just aligned with our word and what we say is going to be right.
Correct.
Then another one is generosity and serving all those that we serve, whether it's our tenants, whether it's our investors or operators, or our missionaries, or whoever it is, generously, and to give of self.
I think one of the core values you also have is truly impact investing over above all, aside from like the two that you've already mentioned. So that's definitely clear to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is, one of our values is, trying to produce impacts for good and making the world a better place. And I think with commercial real estate, there's so many avenues to do that, especially when you're executing the business plan. And I think sometimes we can reduce, increasing um, our net operating income to just increasing rent. But in reality, like there's so many avenues to take, whether it's, upgrading some of the units or uh, improving operations in a way that decreases expenses, or um, maybe having more efficient water fixtures within the different properties. And so, those are just a few examples,
Yeah.
of creating small impacts that have, larger overall impacts at the end, that can then, be translated into financial freedom for our investors, but also being able to create that ability to assist missionaries who are serving, on the battleground.
No, that's so true. And one of the topics that I actually wanted to highlight was as a I don't have any passive investments in real estate for now, but I am actively invested in it. But for the listeners out here that really, really, truly want to be part of syndication or just invest in, let's say, St. Joseph Capital deals, I go by the framework of team, market, and then deal. So I've covered the team sort of and its core values. That's why you would want to invest in Joseph, because your money is going, not only the profit, not only will you profit from it, but also the money that actually comes out of it will actually go to a certain good for not only serving the man of God's kingdom, but serving other missionaries and high school boys, I believe. And so you are also a passive investor. You have invested in deals. Can you talk a little bit more about that and why it matters to the passive investors that are coming into your journey as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I love uh, the passive investing. It's such a awesome hands-off way to have the advantages of real estate while not having the maybe the headaches or the time demands that come with maybe dealing with tenants, or
Mhm.
fixing toilets, or whatever it might be. And so, with my experience, so I ended up joining the active duty passive income, or the ADPI,
Yeah.
um, community and education and mastermind. And I invested with another member of the mastermind who was partnered with a significant, or a team with a significant track record and
Yeah.
experience. And I love how you mentioned, you know, deal, market, and or excuse me, team,
Team market.
market, deal. And it's like such a
Yeah.
good framework to look at, because
Yeah.
um, that those are the different items, the different factors of an investment that you're looking at, right? Okay, who's the team?
Yep.
Who is behind the deal that's going to make this happen? That's going to execute the business plan. Who are we trusting our capital to, and
Correct.
what does their track record look like, right? And then also market, right? Like everyone knows, with real estate, it's location, 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 right? It's like,
Yeah.
where are you putting your money, and where is this property at? What are the
Exactly.
different uh, economic factors within that market and within that sub market? What kind of job growth are we looking at? What kind of industries are in that market? What kind of migration patterns are we seeing in trends? So those are a huge factors as well. And then you're looking at the property, both the actual physical building, right? Like, what kind of renovations do we got to look at? What kind of problems are we trying to address, with our business plan? But also on the financial side, there are a lot of assumptions being made in
Correct.
the underwriting and the projection modeling that
Yep.
goes into it. And so, what kind of assumptions, how conservative, how maybe aggressive are those assumptions, and how are we going to address those things? And so those are some different key factors, I think, when you're looking at passive investments. And Yeah, I think that's definitely a good starting point. But there's definitely some deep due diligence that can
There
occur when
is.
you're when you're connecting with operators and seeing what kind of investments opportunities make sense. So
No, that's a great point, and I appreciate you diving down into that. And one of the questions that most passive investors are probably asking right now is, "Man, what are we going to do with the economic conditions now? Inflation happening, and not just economic, by the way, like the political conditions, right?" So,
yeah.
right now, how are you protecting the downside for these investors, or how would you if you haven't done so already? Mhm.
Yeah, it's such a great question. I think just kind of mentioning what we just talked about, but um, the financial underwriting that goes into these kinds of projects, you just have to be mindful of the assumptions that you're making, and build in those different buffers that really isolate project from certain scenarios that may occur that have a negative impact on your original plan, right? You already know that we're going to put a plan forward, but there's going to be things, events, economic situations that are going to happen. It's like, okay, well, how are you prepared to handle that? And I think it really comes down to the different underwriting assumptions, that are being made, and just making sure you have a proper, expense ratio going into it, looking at the cash flow, and um, ensuring that you're being conservative on the rent growth, and how much you can actually increase that over time. And um, see, you stress test the financial analysis, right? So um, what what is the break even occupancy? What if it's 70% or so, well, that's what is the past 12 months of rent look like, and how can we ensure that we're going to stay above that break even occupancy, and how confident are we going to be in that? And just some of those different assumptions are going to be a huge factor, um, when protecting the downside, right? Because like we've been talking about before, and I think it's kind of the theme of your show, is cash flow, right? You want to make sure that these bad boys are going to cash flow, as you move forward with these opportunities.
That is exactly right. From IPO to cash flow, but I think someone already owns that IP, so I can't use that one. So I'll just say cash flow unicorn. Unicorn is in the startup realm. What it means is $1 billion evaluation, and if we're talking real estate, it's essentially if I had an equity position and it went 100x times, and now it's a unicorn. So, but thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And actually, you raised some points there in which, to me, it just sounds like the way that I'm understanding it is like it comes down to your level of education and knowledge in regards to that. Not only that, but being associated with people that actually have the track record, so you don't have to make the same mistakes. That's kind of why I partnered with someone that has a better track, not better, that has like 100 steps in front of me. Um, uh, Track record essentially, because I don't want to try to making those mistakes again, especially if I'm being a good steward of the money and capital and the reputation of my organization or your organization, right? So
Absolutely.
um, it really boils down to education. That's kind of why I'm broadcasting this stuff, because this is the way for me, not only for me to have MBA, like a master's in business administration for real estate, but also to actually ask the tough questions that not a lot of people are willing to answer because it's not sexy. That's what this platform allows me to do. And it also puts out that you or the guest speakers are experts in a particular field. And then, of course, that just gets broadcasted out and educate more people. That way, it impacts more people. And hopefully, it's a win win situation if they do try to partner up. Right. And yeah, I really appreciate you being here. One more question I do have is, what advice would you give as your 2 cents to any angel investor that's looking to start with your organization and trying to understand yours? Mhm.
Oh, sure. I would say to understand our business, St. Joseph's Capital, is the best way would just be to check out our website. get to get acquainted with us. And we have a new introduction to real estate investing course that we just produced. And
Awesome.
if you're looking to get educated with passive real estate investments, it's definitely a good start. There's a lot of different tools out there, but I think that's one thing we're excited to do is educate other investors on getting started with commercial real estate, and right now specifically multifamily.
Awesome. And how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so in addition to the website, stjosephscapital.com, I am available on LinkedIn. It's definitely been a great place for me to meet new entrepreneurs, investors, and other folks in the industry. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
So just to be clear out there, that would be www.st for Saint and then josephscapital.com. Is this correct? Just wanted to make sure. I'll put it in the show notes just to make sure.
Yeah, thanks so much, Yvonne.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Adrian, I really appreciate you being here on the Startup REI show. Is there anything final last words that you may have before I end the stream?
No, I just had a fun time being here with you, Yvonne, and glad to connect. And thanks for having me on the show.
You know what's amazing is that when I actually have time and set up a time where I'm talking to genuine people and actually having a genuine conversation, and this is, I'd say, one of them for sure that I cherish the most. So thank you for being on, and I'll end the stream now.